Welcome back, everyone. We're going to take on the Braves to start things off, but first things first, just wanted to kind of do a quick pulse check of where we're at. Cleveland has soared above not only the rest of the Central, but most of the rest of the league. Uh, all of the colleagues of the Guardians in the Central, including us, are struggling greatly. But if we compare them just quickly to other teams, they are clearly the class of the American League itself, and right up there with the Dodgers for having the best records in the league. NL Central struggling mightily, and we have Baltimore, Texas, Philly, and the Dodgers in first place as well. So we're getting pretty close to the draft. We only have 24 more days until we see who our newest additions to the farm system and hopefully the major leagues pretty soon will be. So let's finish up the series against the Braves. We actually have a chance to win this series. We've been struggling a bit as May turned to June. For a while there, we were right around 500, but we hit the skids towards the end of May. We lost 4 in a row there against the White Sox and Rangers, and ended up losing 5 of 6. And then 3 more to start June. Won a series against the Phillies, but otherwise we've been kind of stuck in the mud. So we'll have Reese Olson on the bump facing Mike Soroka in that powerful Atlanta lineup. And it looks like we need to fix our lineups. So let's see what our issue is. We're missing lefty against lefties, no DH, which shouldn't really matter. We'll put Torkelson in there, that's fine. Let's see if we're able to play this one or if we have other issues. All right. So the Braves can wear their normal grays, that's cool. And Reese Olson has been struggling of late, got off to a really good start to the season, but has since gotten roughed up a bit. We'll see if we can get him back on track. And all right, Baez and Badu both need a day off. So let's let Wenceel Perez play short for the day. And have Greg Jones in it left. If you hear any scratching, that's the kitty cat making an appearance once again. If you've been following this series at all, this is not the first time we've heard from him. Jones can play center, but not left. So maybe I play him there. Let's see. We could also play McKinstry. And let's see. McKinstry can play left and right, but not center. And Wenceel can just play the infield. Maton can play the outfield, but his fielding isn't great either. So you know what? Even though Jones does not have the best fielding numbers, coming in at 58, he's got the speed to hopefully make up for that a bit. So we can roll with that. And the rest of the lineup should be fine. I'm not going to hit Wenceel third, but I will have him in there. You know what? It's an absurdly small sample size, but Tyler Nevin in 25 at-bats, 7 games, has 5 homers and a .520 average, so let's roll with him in the 3 spot, why not? And everything else is fine. So for this one, I'm actually going to play the last 3 innings. So depending on how his start goes, I might not get to pitch with Olson at all. Let's go ahead and move ahead through this game. Looks like the Braves take an early 1-0 lead, but we answer in the bottom half. Very likely was a leadoff homer by Neto, or I guess maybe it was some kind of base hit, and then, you know, maybe fielder's choice and sacrifice flies brought him home. Down 3-1 here as we head to the 5th. Not much happening for our offense. And it looks like we will get a chance to take over with Olsen here in the top of the 7th. Let me get the pen going. We just called up Matthew Boyd after we sent Cabrera down. So we might, I'll actually get Boyd going as our lefty. Might get a chance to see him. Olsen has pitched pretty well in this game, particularly facing one of the best lineups in baseball. But we can't find the zone there. It's not the ideal way to start the inning. Could have been a double play ball, but wasn't. We just found the hole. Alright, so we're in a bit of trouble here to start the 7th. I think what I'll do is try and get a 2-for-1 here. I'll maybe restore Olsen's confidence a bit and also give the relievers a bit of time to get warm. So we'll see if Olsen can retire Vaughn Grissom, and if he can't, then I might just go to the pen right away. Don't usually feel great about splitters. I just feel like I struggle to locate them and end up hanging them often. But I'm having a reasonably tough time finding the zone here. Oh boy, that's trouble. Alright, I think Olsen's day is going to be done. Did pitch well for a while, but it seems to be screeching to a halt, so let's bring in Boyd. We see numbers from Boyd's stint in Seattle last year there. It'd be nice if Boyd is actually able to pitch well, as he gives up a 2-run single, but at least it wasn't hard hit. Just because then we could save our pen a bit and he could finish out the game, but this is already going very poorly. So leadoff walk and then 3 straight hits, blowing this game open for the Braves. It's funny, I don't think Michael Harris was ever going to try to tag up on that because of how shallow it was, but given the throw, he might have actually been safe. Boyd has a very good variety of pitches, pretty much everything you'd want to be able to throw, with the exception of a sinker. Able to freeze Acuna there with a 2-seam fastball. So good pitch when I needed to have it. And we're 1 strike away from wiggling out of a potentially catastrophic inning. It's already not been good, but they're going to call that a hit by pitch. We've talked about those animations before where it's a check swing and either it's going to be a swinging strike or a hit by pitch. And maybe it's actually determined by how far you swing or don't swing, and maybe it's just random, but it doesn't end up costing us, so we get a fly out to end the inning. So let's see if we can get a rally going here. We'll leave Vest warming up. But like I said, the hope is Boyd can just finish this one out and we can save our bullpen a bit. Good timing there on the fastball from Maton. I just missed it. Soroka is not throwing too hard, but good movement on his sinker there. Fooled me all the way. Way out in front of the slider. Not even close. Here we go. Nice, perfect. So with Jones' speed, I'm definitely going to be going here. Be curious if they pitch out.
Runner!
Doesn't look like they are, and Jones is toast. Wow, great throw by Sean Murphy. That doesn't really matter because I'm using the classic pitching, so I don't have to deal with timing up a meter or anything, but I much prefer Boyd's pitch with his pitching stance and wind up when he's got some runners on base as opposed to just from the stretch. The arms over the head's really clunky, I feel like. Let's see if we can turn 2 here. Yeah, we can't. I need to go into some sort of practice mode and just practice preloading throws, because sometimes I get it and sometimes I am slamming the button and nothing is happening. Big strikeout there of Pilar, especially with a 3-2 count. We're on a bit of a razor's edge there, but a beautiful changeup got him. I'm going to try the changeup again here, see if we can use it for another punch-up. Go back to the fastball up. Alright, we've got ourselves a full count all of a sudden. I'm thinking slider or curve. I haven't thrown one of those yet in this at bat, I don't think. And the slider was way outside. Alright, I'm going to try the slider again. I really like the slider. We have a lefty-lefty matchup. Might try to curve. And it didn't fool him much, but I think we'll get out of it alright. See, we do have an error. I'm more curious who that was. Dylan Lee comes in. He's having a great year. 26 innings pitched. 1.73 ERA. Holding lefties to an under 150 average. That's fine to just leave Vest warming up. And let me just check on who the error was. It was Haas. Behind the dish, too. Not even playing left today. Looks like Tyler Nevin is cooling off at a rapid pace. I mean, that was always going to happen, so I'm not exactly concerned. Quick at bat for Wensil. 1 pitch, 1 out. Just missed that fastball up. Honestly, this outcome so far in this game has been very reminiscent of the real-life Tigers, where anytime they play a pretty good team, if it's a 3-game series, they'll usually win one of the first 2, or at least it's certainly not out of the ordinary for them to do that. And then it'll be like, all right, we can win a series here against a good team. You know, let's do this. Let's see what happens. And they just get smoked. Which is funny because in baseball, I feel like a lot of times the superior team doesn't necessarily blow out the inferior team. You see a lot of 3-2 or 4-1 or just close games, even if the records are way far apart. But they seem to actually get taken to the woodshed with some regularity against really good teams. So we get a bit bailed out there. Neto's should have been inning-ending grounder ends up finding its way to third and being an error. And Riley Green gets a 2-out knock. So, hey, the man of the past couple of weeks could bring this game much closer. I had a good rip at it there. It was pretty, I think my eyes sort of lit up when I saw that dead red fastball. Evan's got pretty good power against lefties, so it's not out of the question that he could hit a homer here. Alright, so we'll be able to start the runners now with the count full and 2 outs. It was inside, but fought it off anyways. See if he hangs some sort of breaking pitch here. Nope, not even close. but we do have something brewing. Torkelson with a big opportunity here. Also staring down a 1-2 count. Oh gosh, changeup fooled me all the way. Man. Well, opportunity squandered there. Let's see. I'm gonna wow. Anytime goes deep. Alright, let's see if we get anything going in this inning. If we don't, then that's it. And if we do, then maybe I'll hop in. And you know what? I've seen enough. I'll hop in. Still down 4 runs, but leadoff homer and a walk have us potentially ready to make some noise here. Former Tiger Joe Jimenez on the mound. One-time All-Star and closer for Detroit. Good fastball there up in the zone. It's hard to tell if it was a called strike or not. It was right on the borderline. Haas at first. He's no threat to steal, so I'll just leave him there. Golly, the slider. I knew it was out of the zone too, but I couldn't help myself. Terrible. Just terrible plate discipline on my part. Yeah, I mean, going back to that last at bat of the 8th inning with Torkelson, had a changeup in the dirt that practically bounced. Just got to be able to read those breaking pitches better. I guess I was a touch early there on that splitter. More than a touch early. It was very early. Maybe I should have just kept simming. Yeah, McKinstry puts a charge into one, but not enough of one. So that does it. We lose the game and the series to the Braves. So a bit of a tough one there. That 7th inning really kind of did us in. 2-hit day from Maton. We saw that homer in the simulation. All in all, not a terrible performance by the lineup. Couple homers, 8 hits overall. Not bad, and Boyd did indeed finish the game out. So like we've seen often this season, decent performance, but not nearly enough to win against a really good team who puts together more than a decent performance. Greg Jones out for a few days, that's fine. We'll just kind of handle that automatically. So I'll pitch with Scooble next, which will probably be maybe this last game against KC, second game against KC. So let's go ahead and simulate through here, actually. Oh, well, that's fine. I can just do that. I'm going to have to update the scouting at the beginning of the week anyways. So we lose the first one in Minnesota, but bounce back with a couple wins. Looks like this was a good pitching performance. And 3 solo homers ruled the day. Yeah, Joey Wentz balled out. He's 6-1 with a 2.86 ERA. Be interested to see if he ends up getting some all-star votes. Yeah, we've been relying on the long ball here in Minnesota. All right, so let's, first of all, before I forget, let me just look at the lineup and make sure this is all good. Since Jones got hurt, we had him coming off the bench anyway, so it shouldn't really change much. But everything looks good here, I think. Green seems to be progressing well. Torkelson is still qualifying for on fire status. Maton's still hovering around 300. Tyler Nevin back on fire. I think he's probably just never really technically stopped being on fire, at least as far as the graphic is concerned. But that looks good. That's all fine. So let's take a look here. We're trying to find some kind of diamonds in the rough a little further down the draft board. Looks like Domingo Rivera could be one. We have him much higher than the rest of the league does. But Dusty Pedroza and Jeremy McCann we're not as thrilled about as the league-wide draft ranking is. So let's take a look at some other prospects. I think we feel pretty good about JT Pritchett. That potential is really awesome to see. Power numbers could come in right away and be one of our better power bats. And somewhat decent speed. Fielding is fine, which for someone who is very likely going to play first base or DH, I'm not really concerned about his fielding numbers. So it looks like he could be a great hitter from day one. And being 22 and already potentially coming in with an overall in the 70s, he might be ready really soon, which is something that we want. Vogelsang, another one that might not even be available for us in the third spot, but I've enjoyed his beard, and his potential looks pretty promising as well. So let's look at our top 100 prospects team rank. I thought that said Kevin Durant for a second. So let's take a look in here. Let's say this. Let's move Durant to third. I don't know if it's worth looking at Pedroza again. So let's see here. Oh my gosh, these guys. He's got the Dennis Eckersley mustache. Wow. That's something. It certainly is. Like I said before, I'm not totally thrilled about spending a lot of picks on starting pitchers just because I think, of course, there are many different ways you can build through the draft, but I think building out our position player pool is much higher on my personal priority list and priority board than focusing on pitchers, especially relievers. Relievers are a dime a dozen. They're easy to acquire. You can churn through them with one-year deals if you want to. So I'd much rather focus on building out our position players. I'm going to look at Lester Olson. There's a decent separation between the rest of the league's view of him and our view of him. And, I mean, you see this a lot with these kinds of players, but right now his potential is maybe as high as 99. I doubt that will come to fruition, but it seems like a pretty good fielder, good arm strength, good speed, good contact with decent power potentially. So, could be someone we get a little later on in the draft. Maybe I'll look at Domingo Rivera once more, just because we do have that gap that we're looking for in the league's rank versus our rank. And, I'm not horribly opposed to drafting a starting pitcher if that works best for us. So let's do that. I think sponsorships will probably be the same. Looks like it is. Yeah, so that's fine. And while we're here, kind of curious. So we know Harold is done for the rest of the year still, but Veerling is 20 days out. curious too. Let's just see what the trade block has. So Yanni Chirinos is actually in AAA right now. He's arbitration eligible after this year, so 2 more years of arbitration, then he's a free agent. But B, potential 80 overall, not bad. So I'll keep an eye on him as time goes on. If he remains available, might consider if we can pick him up on the cheap. Might be a worthwhile arm to add to our system, even if he doesn't pitch in the minors or in the majors right away. Tyler Soderstrom is also intriguing. I mean, doesn't have a great overall, but pretty good power, and we're weak in the catching spot. So Joey Bart as well. Bart's significantly older though. Soderstrom's only 21. He has a renewable contract for a handful more years. So he could also be one that, depending on what the price is, may be worth looking into. But alright, let's keep simming. So Neto's hurt. That's a bummer. And I had a feeling, I mean, it looks like we had a late comeback to tie it, but I had a feeling based off the score that we blew something in this game, and sure enough we did. We had a couple of late inning leads that we could not hold on to. Looks like Tyler Nevin went deep again. We also saw Zach Neto got hurt, and then we beat the Royals. Neto's injury appeared to be minor. Akil Wadu with 4 hits. Wow. This is a really hodgepodge lineup. You had Wenzel Perez hitting cleanup, Riley Green hitting 6th. I mean, it's really weird that the computer decides to, especially with, like, let me check, but pretty sure I know what my settings are. So everything is set to manual. We're playing against designated hitter, and I guess, I mean, still, like, okay, you're doing weird stuff with the Ibanez because of Neto being hurt, but the rest of the lineup is intact like normal. And Riley Green's hitting second, Riley Green's hitting second, and then we play the Royals, and we're like, Riley Green's hitting 6th. It just doesn't make any sense. All right, so let's play against Kansas City. I want to say the last time that we pitched with Scooble, it was also against the Royals. I'm going to have the Royals wear their blues. Always like those. So Scooble on the mound. Riley Green can use a day off. So let's give him a day off. Let's see. Maton's probably worth giving the DH spot too. He seems to be the most tired of the regulars. Andy Ibanez we can also give the day off too. So when Seal hitting lead off. Yeah, another hodgepodge lineup here. It's just kind of cobbled together, but we'll roll with it. And let's hit Jones 8th, just because he's hitting 178. And we'll keep Nevin's power bat higher up in the lineup. So we'll play the first 3 innings here with Scooble. See how things go. The Royals, as we've said a couple of times throughout the course of this franchise series, Royals got off to a hot start and then basically face planted and have not recovered, which is predictable because I don't know that they're any more talented than we are. Nice play out there in center field by Greg Jones. I think his speed might have helped him out there. Or maybe he got a bad jump, but his speed made up for it. We'll see it again in action here. I think he's going to get this one too. Yep, almost the exact same play. So staying busy. Alright, let's go with the old reliable circle change. Got him. So nice clean top of the first for Scooble. Gotta say the lighting is pretty impressive for these night games. I think they really do a great job of actually capturing what it looks like at 7:05 p.m., especially with regard to the different months. 7:05 in April looks a lot different than 7:05 in late June, and that looks different than September. And I've been to a lot of 7:05 games at Comerica, and this matches exactly what I feel like I see when I'm there in the summer. Brad Keller on the mound for the Royals. Don't know a ton about him. Hung a slider there, but I missed it. Looks like he's got a pretty normal repertoire. Still waiting to see like an ephus or a screwball or something. I know Devin Williams has a screwball. I don't think any current pitcher has an ephus. Although Zach Greinke maybe could or should. I know he's broken that out on occasion. I think I'm struggling a bit right now, as much as I raved about the lighting. I think I'm struggling a bit because the hitter's eye isn't super dark. So I'm picking up the pitches kind of late. Baez went deep last time we were playing against Kansas City. Smoked that one, but Nicky Lopez is there. Skubal, kind of like Reese Olson, started the season on fire somewhat, pitching really well, and then has hit the skids a bit recently. I think Skubal has a great deal of talent and is almost certainly further along in his development than Olson is right now. So I can't believe he swung at that. That was ridiculous. Pitch was so far inside, but we get a strikeout there and a strikeout of Isbell. So all of a sudden, looked like we were going to have a leadoff walk, and now we got 2 down. Let's see if we can strike out the side here. I'm sticking with the circle change. Bobby Witt Jr. having a really good year in real life, struggling a lot in this game, hitting only 195. We do end up striking the side out. Let's see if we can get something going here. Torkelson to lead off. I feel like that was one of the first changeups I've seen. So I'll take a solid single. Glad to see that Maytime has continued. He didn't get off to the hot start, but once he picked up, it was around late April or early May, he hasn't really cooled off much. I mean, if he can be a productive player, I can absolutely see him being part of our roster for the next couple of years. I mean, he's still pretty young and very versatile in terms of his defensive flexibility, which is true for a lot of our players, but the fact that he can hit, he's a lefty bat, makes a difference. So I had good timing in that 3-2 fastball, but just missed it. And we have another 3-2 count here with Haas. A good chance for a walk here. Extend the rally a bit. I was way too excited about the possibility of a walk. Fastball. Pretty good location, but certainly hittable. And I just stood there like a house by the side of the road, as Ernie Harwell used to say. Badu, another player that ratings-wise isn't really jumping off the page, but if he can hit 280 as a young B overall player, I'll keep him around. Let's see if we can avoid a leadoff walk here. Hunter Dozier was way out in front of that. I'm going back to the circle change. Shift might doom us here, and it does. It was about as tailor-made a ground ball to second base as you'll see, but Lencia was pretty much playing right up the middle, so Dozier gets a base hit out of it. And Waters puts good wood on that, but right at Badu. Caden Wallace is up. Don't know that I've heard of him. I think he's a somewhat recent call-up, hitting .417, but like Tyler Nevin, I think it's probably a pretty limited sample size. Get him to chase there. Yeah, come on, Javi. Alright, nice. So Skubal pitches really well through 3. And before we start simming, let's see if we can get him at least 1 run. I'd love a leadoff walk for Greg Jones. I mean, if he gets a hit, that's absolutely fine with me too, but with his speed, to start the inning on base would be great. And credit to Keller, he dialed that one up. And I gotta say, for finding himself in a good amount of 3-ball counts, he's made really clutch pitches. I mean, I don't think he's thrown a single pitch out of the zone in a 3-ball count. Like, he hasn't had to make me chase anything because he's been in the zone. Even that one, I mean, it's about as perfect a high fastball as you can get on a 3-2 count. Yeah, he's painting corners right now. Well, maybe we'll see something off speed here. He's been relying on the fastball. Yep. So McKinstry's on. He can run a little bit, so I might take off here.
Runner, runner, runner!
I think I'm in there. Yep. Another good fastball. I'm impressed. Brad Keller looks like 95 Greg Maddux out there. I feel like every time I'm up with Lencia, I either have good timing or just early, just late. And not a lot of hits coming out of those, which, as I've said before, it's understandable. When you have lower rated players, they probably shouldn't be tearing the cover off the ball. A chance for Tyler Nevin here. And I think he's going to deliver. That is getting over the head of the right field for Kansas City. Ground rule double. Good piece of hitting there for the reincarnated Chris Shelton. That was about as Javi Baez and at bat as you can get. But we do take the lead. So let's see if we can make it stand up here. Tack on 2 more in the bottom of the 4th. Okay, this one has gotten out of hand very quickly. So a 7-run 7th, and all of a sudden it's 11-0. So let's get some work for maybe Cisnero. Let's see, how's he been pitching this year? Not the greatest. Let's go with Cisnero. Wow. Truly dominant performance. 13-0. Just missed getting an extra point and making it an even 2-touchdown win. The crowd cleared out, which actually I really don't think would happen in light of how the Tigers have performed the past decade or so. I think Comerica Park crowd would be desperate for a Tiger blowout win. So we ended up getting to Brad Keller quicker than it looked like we might. We hit 1,000 homers. So Torkelson, Haas hit 3. Wencio Perez and Badu all went deep. 2 doubles as well. Everyone but Greg Jones and Maton got a hit. And at least Jones and Maton both worked walks too. Haas hit 7 RBIs. Torkelson 4 hits. Wow. Somehow Tyler Nevin got 3 hits and didn't hit a homer. That's impressive stuff. So right up there with that blowout of the Giants with our best win of the year, and we did win this series pretty much no matter what, so that's cool. Let's simulate up through, because we're going to play this last, or I guess second to last game against Texas here. So let's go up through here, and some bummers all around. So we have a AA broken ankle, and then we lose our next 3 games after that 13-0 win. So we just hit the skids, get shut out, score 1 run, and then score 3 runs. Blew it in the top of the 9th, so it was probably Foley. Yep, sure was. I guess that's life with a very mediocre bullpen. I don't think this would have made any difference in the outcome, but this is why the computer cannot be trusted, because they do stuff like this. So I'm like, hey, Neto's back in. Cool, let's do this. Okay, no problem. I'll put Neto in at short, and then we'll continue playing Andy Ibanez and having him hit leadoff, even though he's hitting 270, which isn't bad, but I think he's probably still a negative WAR player. Very much so. I wonder how much of that is his defense, and he doesn't hit for any power either. That doesn't help. But just stupid. Haas has 13 homers in only 60 games. He had 14 last year in 110. Yeah, 1.3 WAR. Good stuff. That's cool. All right. So let's do some scouting. Let's take a look here. Lester Olson turns out is fine, but we're not as excited about him. Domingo Rivera looks good, and Ken Durant looks good too. So let's see. I might give Olson another week, but I'm also kind of curious here about what else we can find. I guess Wildman is still a possibility with our 36th overall pick. I like David Park a lot, though. Really good power, really good speed. Yeah, he might actually be the guy. Chris Perez, too. Got a big bat. So maybe 44th overall for him. I'm not totally confident in my scouting process. I mean, I feel like I've gone about it decently, but This also could be totally wrong. A really inefficient way of doing it. All right, let's take a look at Charlton Garcia. David Reyes is intriguing too, but let's look at him. I think we feel pretty good about Rivera and Durant, honestly, too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that. I want that shortstop that's injured. Or maybe I'll just look at Henry Villanueva. The thing is with him being John Robertson, I'm guessing he won't fall super far or anything because he's injured. I mean, he's still 63rd overall. So I'm kind of thinking about it from like a real life perspective. Like someone gets hurt, a lot of teams might write him off or might just say, yeah, no, we'll pass. And a really good talent might be available a lot lower than you would normally expect. But in this instance, that's probably not going to happen. Frank DeJesus is pretty impressive as just a super fast, talented fielder who could be available with probably not our round 3 pick. So that's where it's kind of tough. And actually, that's where I probably shouldn't waste too much time looking at these guys in like the 50s and 60s because I think we already have guys that we want to take with our first 3 picks, and then by the time we get to the 80s, we could be looking at something totally different. So let's look at Reyes. Switch hitter, good contact guy, really good fielder, potentially good speed. He might be able to fall into that slot, our 4th overall pick. And like I said, I think we're already good on Durant. We feel pretty good about where he's at with regard to how we could evaluate him. So yeah, take a look at one of these other guys. Yeah, look at someone else in this 80s range. Maybe Alan Nieve. Maybe. Scott Suarez is, for the draft, somewhat old, but yeah, I don't know. Juice may not be worth the squeeze there in terms of where he's projected to go. Now let's look at Trevino. Really fast, really good contact. 18 years old, could fall in that 4th spot. Let's do that. All right. So let's simulate up to this next game. This looks like second. I don't want to be in the second game of the Texas series after all. We cannot win a game to save our lives at the moment. And since there was an injury down here, I need to account for that. So what are we looking at? First base? All right, that's fine. This is a wash, but I guess we'll just do that. They're both D potential, so don't know that we're really registering on the Richter scale with any decision we make here. So we've lost 4 in a row, and we've lost 5 in a row. So since our 13-0 win, we haven't won a game. We've scored a total of 7 runs in 5 games. So pretty shabby stuff overall, I would say. And nice to see Greg Jones get a homer. Not nice that it boosted him all the way up to 175. Yeah, pretty ugly stuff. Take a quick look at the trade block. Looks like Chirinos is still available, so I think he could be a good value pickup for us. anytime I see these B potential players, I'm a little bit intrigued, but with them being arbitration eligible right now, I don't know. I think the pitchers are a bit more appealing. And yeah, we're going to look into Soderstrom too, because he could be a good depth catcher, if nothing else, to have in the mix. So, quick look at the standings. Guardians continue to dominate. We're all the way down to 4th. The Twins have had a good month. They won 8 of their last 10. And after basically burying themselves in last place from the jump, they've played really well, looks like, in June. Orioles continue their breakout season. They're playing great. Really competitive division. I mean, the Red Sox have shown themselves out, but everyone else, even Toronto, who's just finished a 9-game losing streak, or maybe even more, they're still above 500. Texas has kind of seized the day in the AL West. Angels continue to flounder. Good battle in the NL East between the Phillies and Braves. Brewers have at least gotten themselves to 500, so a bit more respectable, but this division is definitely a pillow fight. And the Dodgers are dominating, but what else is new? Looks like San Diego ripped off 7 in a row, so I would say all in all, most of the league is performing as one would expect. Cleveland almost certainly overachieving relative to what people thought they were going to do, and probably honestly what their talent is. I mean, given that they're 11th overall, 30th in power. Just for context, we slot in at 29th overall in our ranking, so we've actually outperformed our talent so far. I mean, before that 5-game losing streak, we were sitting at 34 and 39. Not really in the mix to be a contender, but in the mix for 500. So, with all of that being said, thank you for watching as always. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.